So we have, welcome everybody. Now it seems we have all the discussion participants online. And yes, so I would like to officially welcome you to today's discussion with the Minister of Education and Science, Ilga Šuplinska. Thank you so much for finding the time to talk to us today. So the talk today will be how to raise the bar in higher education and how to bridge the gap in the labor market. Today's discussion is organized by the Norwegian Chamber of Commerce in Latvia with the support of the Norwegian Embassy in Latvia. My name is Ilga and I'm the Executive Director of NCCL. We have a great lineup of speakers today. Before we launch, I would like to invite the Norwegian Ambassador Christian Odegård share a few welcome words. Christian?
Thank you, Ilse. Labdien, everybody, dear Minister, dear participants. I look forward to listening to this discussion on education. I just wanted to say that we have a very close and very good relationship and cooperation between Norway and Latvia on research and education. It has been so for a long time. We have cooperation between academic institutions, between universities, and we have not least I think about 150 Norwegian students in Latvia. So thank you for educating our doctors and dentists. We have a very close cooperation under the EEA Norway grants. There is a big program for education and research under this scheme called Norwegian Financial Instrument here in Latvia. Under these programs, we have research programs, we have scholarships, we have also Norwegian support of science centers in Cesis, Ventspils, Liepāja, and Daugavpils. So all these programs and all these personal links makes it a very positive picture seen from the embassy. So we appreciate this cooperation and hope it to continue. With these few words, I will just wish you a fruitful and good discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. So yeah, we understand that right now the government's primary focus is on fighting COVID and its effects on economics, but the long-term challenges have not disappeared, and one of them is quality of education and access to qualified labor. So today's agenda, we have 1 hour. This is very ambitious for 1 hour's discussion, but without wasting any more time, I would like to open the discussion with inviting the Minister of Education, Ilga Šuplinska, share her overview of the situation and the reforms in higher education that have been launched. Minister, you can unmute your microphone and share your insights.
Thank you. Excellency, distinguished members of the Norwegian Chamber of Commerce in Latvia, dear ladies and gentlemen, labdien, labdīna, javapāve. It is a great pleasure for me today speak with you about our one of the important reform. It is the reform of higher education governance. And my priority is quality of education in all levels, but this reform is one of importance. So, and I start with our presentation, and then maybe you have some question about our position. And I start share. So, So you can see?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Certainly, the role of higher education and science is becoming increasingly more important in Latvia, as it is everywhere in the world. Excellent education and science are especially necessary to ensure the transformation of the national economy and recovery from the COVID-19 crisis. Our higher education institutions are doing a pretty job preparing specialists that are demanded in different areas of the national economy. But at the same time, there are challenges that we have to address without much delay. In 2016, OECD conducted a study about education in Latvia. They concluded that our higher education institutions are more autonomous than their counterparts in the European Union. They have governance issues and their capability to introduce changes is limited. If we look at the global trends in the higher education, it can be seen that institutions are becoming more transparent, effective, and accountable. Accountability is ensured by involving internal experts in the institutional governance. Latvia is lagging behind in this respect as it's the last country in the European Union where such practice has been missing so far. I am pleased to say that we are currently in the process of introducing an institutional governance reform. So, in this slide, I would like to show you some facts about our fragmented higher education system and point out the challenges we have to work on. We are a small country with a small population of only 2 million. However, we have 54 higher education institutions, 30 of which are funded by the state. It means there are 27 institutions per 1 million inhabitants. In comparison, in Lithuania and Estonia, there are 15 institutions. In Finland, there are 7. In Denmark, Sweden, just 3 institutions per 1 million residents. And you can see another facts and statistical numbers about our higher education institution. But all this means that we are not using our resource efficiently. Given the large number of institutions, part of the study programs available, institutions can offer full-time work to a limited number of academic staff, and many academic staff members have to take part-time jobs of several institutions. The new typology of higher education institution and the new governance system that we have recently developed are meant to improve this situation. In the next few years, we will be working on the institutional consolidation of the education system. The ministry will implement programs to financially support these efforts. And here I would like to say that consolidation will not be mechanistic, but rather it will be based on sustainable assessment of each institution to achieve synergy. We will encourage a bottom-up approach to these initiatives. We also have to work on attracting more students. It means we have to become more competitive in the global market and offer higher education quality programs in English to international students. This next slide further illustrates the fragmentation of this education system. I previously mentioned that there is a small number of students enrolled in our institution on average. However, the distribution of students is very uneven. You can see to the left that the half of all students study at 4 largest universities of Latvia. It means that the number of students at other institutions is very low. Speaking on the fields of education, the chart of the right shows that there is a large number of students in the programs of business, administration, and social sciences. But our economy needs more specialists in the STEM areas. Our education system is not preparing enough to those specialists. Therefore, ministry's task is to stimulate the interest in STEM disciplines. Already, at the secondary education level. We have introduced a competency-based learning at schools and expect that this will encourage more applicants to STEM programs at the college and university levels. Now I would like to tell you about the reform that we have started in the higher education. As you can see, Latvia is currently implementing structural reforms in almost all areas of higher education and research. I will point out for 4 priority areas. These reforms are funded by the European Structural Fund within the framework of the Growth and Employment Programme. The first objective is study programs. Its purpose is to develop new competitive study programs, reduce program fragmentation, and increase their quality. The second objective is aimed at strengthening the capacity of the academic staff, including raising their qualification, also employment of doctoral students and foreign academics. Third objective is to improve the institutional governance system, including development of internal quality assurance system, introduction of e-solutions and resource management, supporting resource sharing and digitalization of teaching and learning. Last but not least, the fourth objective is to ensure that the requirements of European Quality Assurance Register of Higher Education are fulfilled. I would like to give you more information about reforms regarding the new institutional governance model. It has 5 major components. First, we are developing a new academic career model in close collaboration with the European Commission and the World Bank. We expected to have the model ready to 2022 and then start its implementation in all higher education institutions. A major weakness in the current academic career is the existence of 2 parallel tracks, teaching and research. The new model will integrate them into one career. The new model will also introduce a tenure track, which did not exist before. Also, an exit point from the academic career will be defined. Compensation system will be reformed as well. Very important, the changes will be make academic career more attractive for new doctoral graduates, and it will help with the renewal of academical staff. Second, the new doctoral training framework is also related to the academic career model. Doctoral students will be more closely engaged in the research and teaching activities of the university, including paid positions with a minimum salary of €2,000 per month. Also, doctoral schools will seek stronger ties with the industry, giving doctoral students opportunities to do research in enterprises and laboratories of research institutions. After graduation, the new doctors will be better prepared for the academic careers. Third, the upgraded performance-based funding model will encourage higher education institutions to improve the quality and effectiveness of all their activities. Fourth, by 2024, we will transition to cycle institution assessment of higher education institutions and research institutions. Fifth, the institutional network will be optimized through consortiums, consolidations, and mergers. New governance model will introduce new internal decision-making body, councils, which will be highest body for strategy, budget, economic issues. Councils will be also responsible for attracting funding and income diversification. Councils will ensure the autonomy of the institutions. The Senate will be highest decision-making tool and responsible for academic and research issues. Senates will ensure academic freedom and integrity. The institutional governance model will ensure effective institutional governance with strategic and executive role. It is expected the new internal governance model as well as academic career model will ensure professional staff, academic and non-academic via open competition to key position in the institutions. In this slide, I would like to summarize the key components of our path towards creating an effective Latvian higher education area. First, typology. There are specific criteria developed for each type of higher education institution: university, University of Applied Sciences, and University of Arts. There are plans to assist institutions with defining their strategic specialization. This will reduce duplication of study programs and will help institutions become more focused and use their resources in a more targeted manner. Next, at the basis on the new governance model are councils, with more than half of their members being external. To foster the implementation of the new councils, we have reserved €4 million from the European Structure Fund. Human capital is a major asset of the educational system. Academical personnel will be developed and supported based on the new academic career model that I mentioned earlier. Institutional network will be strengthening through internal and external consolidation. As a result, institutions will be able to share their resources. For example, academic libraries, digital platforms, joint study programs. This will make them more competitive. A recovery and resilience facility is investing 100 million to make the consolidation sustainable. Latvia can carry out these ambitious reforms because of the generous support from several funding sources on the European Union. There are sustainable investments approved for the period of 2021 to 2027. The Recovery and Resilience Facility is going to invest 100 million euros to support the reforms in higher education governments. And the multi-annual financial framework will invest 245 million euros in higher education, research and development. And today I would like to express our appreciation of the European Economic Area and Norway Grants Program for Research and Education. It helped us develop a Baltic research program, a scholarship program. We are so able to create innovation centers in several towns of Latvia. So, and in the conclusion, I dare say the structural reforms in the higher education are comprehensive and ambitious. We have already made good progress, but even more work is still ahead. I would like to ask you to be ambassadors of reforms in the higher education of Latvia and spread a good word about them. Thank you for your attention, and maybe you have some question or comments or recommendation for our activities in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Šuplinska. You managed to fit right in time. This was a great presentation and also very informative. So we have 4 discussants joining us, but before I give a floor to the next discussant, I would like to bring up a question that has been posted by the ambassador of Finland. So let's see. Ambassador of Finland asks, in your recovery plan, there is a mentioning that establishment of a functional adult education system to reduce share of low qualified workers and for continuous development of skills and competencies. Will this be in all levels of education or only on vocational one? And also, I would be interested in learning about your plans concerning the development and quality of education and research in Latvia. How could this be achieved? It is a broader question, but would you like to address it in a few words?
If we speak about this adult education system, it is again a very important field in our work. And it is not part only from higher education system. It is, I think, a general idea for all society, because we know our position and our statistical data show us that this position is not enough for this develop. And our goal, our aim is the system develop, and more people with this not good competencies and weak skills doing better. So it is one part of our changing society in general. It is not only a question about higher education institution. So, and I can see our Parliament Secretary, maybe Reinis said some words about this adult education, if you would like.
Yes, hello everyone. I must start with a small apologies. I'm currently in 3 commissions at the same time, so have to share my time with you and then 2 other Parliament commissions. So I'll be brief with my comments and then try to jump in where it's possible. So talking about adult education, I must say that one of the biggest issues or things we need to solve is fragmentation of the system. If you take a look at adult education, it's basically governed by 3 ministries: so Ministry of Education, Ministry of Economics, and Ministry of Health, of social issues. So the system is very fragmented. But the good part is that we are increasingly looking at the human resources as a point where real investments needs to be done. And in that regard, in the European Recovery Fund, we are trying to get a large portion of funding for adult education, especially for digital knowledge, digital skills. Which is currently one of the shortcomings of Latvian society. If you look in the European perspective, then we are well below the average in digital skills. If you're looking to that sector, also it's very important sector for the teachers in our schools, as well as for public sector workers. So we are trying to address all 3 of those sectors in European Recovery Fund, where significant financing will be issued to cover this. Thank you. That's a short comment. I hope other participants will expand on what I said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Šuplinska and Reinis Znotiņš for your insights. So now we've heard insight from the Ministry of Education, and Reinis is also sitting, he is a member of Parliament participating in the discussions in the Commission, which is currently reviewing the amendments to the higher education law. But now I would like to bring on board Claudio Rivera. He's Deputy Director of Riga, RTU Riga Business School, and he has been chairing the education work group at the Foreign Investors Council. Claudio, would you like to provide your remarks? And I have this little timer. I would like, if you could limit yourself to the remarks to 5 minutes, that would be great.
Very good. Good morning. Very difficult for an Italian Argentinian to stick to 5 minutes. But anyway, I think building up on the last question, because it's connected with higher education. The underlying problem in adult education is the same that in higher education, governance. I mean, if the governance system is not in place, academic excellence suffers. And I think this is an idea that during these couple of years of discussions, I think has started to be more and more understood. If we set the governance system properly, we are going to help universities, we are going to help vocational institutions, in the case of adult education, to perform better. And actually, investor has been raising the issue of adult education quite a lot. And what Reinis was saying, actually, I fully agree. It needs to be more concentrated, the coordination of the process. And one more thing that is also there is that the decisions that are taken should be better informed in terms of data. Okay, so I think that in this case, the MBA, that is the institution from the government that is more connected with training of employees, of future employees, they should have much more informed process. I mean, we are talking about digital skills. What are those digital skills? But not only what are those digital skills that are needed now, what are the digital skills that will be needed in 5 years from now? So this will help a lot the government to take the decisions. And if after there is a good coordination in the implementation, then everything will be much better. So it's an underlying problem in adult education and in higher education, that is governance. And if we fix the governance, it's not the solution to everything. I think the minister has put in that presentation, was very good. You know, you have the whole map, the whole picture of all the things that we have to do. Governance is not the only thing, but if we don't fix the governance, the other solutions also will not offer the final shot. And one more issue I will not, first we appreciate from the Foreign Investor Council the work that the minister and also Mr. Stradins and Mr. Znotiņš are doing. I think we are going to get the Guinness record in the length of the discussions in the parliament. I am not sure if there was any other law that has gone through so many months and weeks of discussion. So we are sitting there 5 hours per week almost. And I think this is also an achievement of democracy because everyone is being heard. And at the end, we are coming up with a very good proposal. I think now the law is going to look very good. There is one aspect I want to raise, that our universities, our higher education institutions are not competing between each other. So they compete with international competitors, with international institutions. And we know we have been losing a lot of students and we have been losing a lot of faculty members. So there are a lot of very good researchers and scholars that are not here, and they would like to be here. I mean, they really have an emotional attachment with Latvia for some reason, and they are not here because they have not the capacity they are not welcome in the way they are welcome abroad. And I think that is something why we need to foster the governance of the institutions, because it's a way to bring back the people we want and to bring new people as well. Okay, and I think that is an angle, and not to lose any more students, because we are losing a lot of students and very good students. And as we move forward, the implementation phase, and the minister approached that already, so there will be a special process, but it's very important that the implementation phase starts as soon as possible. And the reason is that after these 2 years of discussions and work, I think now we all are more or less on the same page. We all understand, so everything is quite fresh. So it's very important that this process takes a very substantial step forward. Meanwhile, this parliament is in place. Meanwhile, this government is in place, because there is a fresh memory of all the discussion of the interpretation. So how we see the law, how we see the reforms. So it is very important we start as soon as possible, and that the funding that is, the minister mentioned that is a key issue. So how the funding model will work. And the minister mentioned something I would like to stress a little bit more. She mentioned about the role of this new governance to actually attract funding to the university. It's one of the very important mission of the new councils to attract funding, because that will be a way how the university will be able to sustain their autonomy. Why sometimes their autonomy is so reduced? Because they heavily rely on one source of funding, that is budget places and European Union funds. Now, if you are, regardless how the governance system is, the university will be very weak in autonomy as long as their funding model is only focused on 1 or 2 sources of funding. But if you start to diversify the funding, and this is one of the reasons why the councils are in place, so then we start to give more autonomy to the universities. And there are other reasons why these councils, I believe, will strengthen the autonomy of the university, but I have only 5 minutes. And finally, because I guess I am running out of time, but this is a window of opportunity for Latvian higher education. It's a very strong window of opportunity. COVID times has put almost all the higher education system everywhere, even with the leading universities in the world, has sent them to square one. Basically, everyone now needs to rebuild the business model, how they work. So it's a very good opportunity for Latvian higher educations to really have these ambitions up on their place internationally. So now is the moment, I think, to implement this reform and to move forward really smoothly, because we have the political and society support, and because there is a window of opportunity in the international market. That's from my side. Yes.
Thank you, Claudio. You managed to finish before I rang the bell.
Ah,
so,
there was a bell, sorry.
Are we, so yes, Claudio was saying that everybody is engaged and we are on the same page. I would like to bring on board Toms Baumanis from Riga Stradins University asking a question. Are we on the same page? Is everybody heard? And I understand you have had some different views of how processes should be steered, but Toms, would you like to provide your comment?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I am so pleased to see Madam Minister and Excellency, Honorable Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen. I'm proud to be in this discussion, and I agree with the title of this discussion. That is reality. There is gap. And this is because in the past, there was not enough cooperation in between probably Ministry of Education, Ministry of Economy. And I hope that current minister and her team can work and improve it, because that's a key issue to raise the competitiveness probably of Latvian economy, where the higher education has very high input. In general, I want to say my gratitude to Ministry of Education, Mr. Znotiņš and Stradins, who chairs the Education Commission, for endeavor to improve higher education system, because in last 25 years it was lost in bushland. I mean, all study programs were approved, all institutions were created, and everything has gone like in a free happy land. Now we see where we have ended. Our system is as strong as its single player, and the chain is as strong as the weakest link. And if you look at the Latvian highest education, there are so many weak chains that is not helpful economy at all. So I really hope that this can be stopped and improved. So for that given, the higher education reform plan is very good start. What I lack in person is I don't see any financial economic incentives or stimulus. If I would be tasked to do the reform, I would probably done it differently. But this is not my decision, and I admire the try what you are doing. So even if Latvian higher education system was financed, we see it was not financed on any quality measurements. That was political decision who is getting what. If you talk about the study programs, if you talk about the science, it was always underfinanced. So to talk about getting into top rating 500, that's a miracle. It's like for talk shows. Reality is that there needs to be financing to finance science, for example, and that's probably issue what also has to be looked at. One of your questions you asked me was about whether the changes will help innovation and growth. I think it will help, but not fully, because if you look at the European Union, the most strongest innovators are the countries which spend more on private innovation rather than public. And here I'm talking against my own institution. What I'm saying is, if you want to get higher return on any penny you invest in innovation, you really have to put together industries and universities. And when they work together, there shouldn't be like 100% of all money to university. No, it has to be more on private or equal, or these has to be matching funds, but that's how it works. That's how I do understand it. I think, as I said, reforms are well based, and I'm very happy with typology, what is currently done by SAEMA Education Commission. That's a good thing. I would hope to see that typology is also reflected in future development plans, like National Development Plan. But in that plan, you don't see universities as expenditure centers. I think once the governance reform is done, maybe universities have to be put in that plan as expenditure centers, because in the past, and even in current times, universities are considered as centers of development. And we, at least we at RSU, we believe we can be one. One of my major problems with the current reform plan is, too rigid look at university autonomy. I believe university autonomy is treasured in Europe, and it somewhat has to be treasured. If you look at the Finnish case, if I understood it correctly, there was changed in balance in between external or internal representatives. But even that is not the problem. The biggest problem is, if you look at the supervisory boards, they need to be independent. But at the current status of law, there is stipulation that says that candidates with any political affiliation can be members of supervisory board. It is also said that they are not going to be public officials or valstsamatpersona. I think this is a major problem, because if they are linked to political parties or interest groups, they have to be valstsamatpersona. If they are not, they come from business, from society, then it can work. I hope we can reach that where you have really independent supervisory boards. I actually disagree with Claudio. I don't think supervisory board members can bring any substantial financial means for institutions, because we are living in very small economy and actually very poor economy. And I just don't see where that money can come from. Well, if they are politicians, maybe in their ministries they can generate some funds, but this is a more on joke than reality. In general, I understand why we need reform. We are very happy with typology. I also want to say that Riga Stradins University believes that many of critics, what you are criticizing the system as such, is not applying to us, but this is maybe our problem, because we are financed by public funds only 38%, and we can attract financing from abroad. And I think what we do in education export, that's a real GDP improvement for Latvian economy. With that said, you asked me whether the reforms will help to achieve excellence of education, science, and competitiveness. I think in general, yes. But what we need to look at, we need to promote professors who are good with tenure principle, and that's maybe is going to be in the law. We need to elect international professors who are not fluent in Latvian, because the high quality professors will attract high quality students. And that is where I believe we can change something. We have to create an environment that smart and, let's say, rich Latvian or mobile Latvian students are looking abroad. We need to create that environment here, because it works in reverse. That's why Norwegian, Finnish, or German students are coming to RSU, because we try to create an environment they're looking for. So what else I want to say? Yes, university autonomy. Well, please look at some principle of power balance, because power balance sometimes bring up the good decisions, not always the bad decisions. Yes, and what I want to see is that the financial system of future higher education system is more based on quality measurement than on well, some historic assumptions. And sorry for that's all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toms. Yes, this sound is, it's not somewhere in the, it's intentional, but thank you for managing to put in so much information. Claudia seems he wanted to respond. Claudia.
Very shortly, Toms, I think that the members of the council will be a balsamat person, as in the last version, but the minister or Reinis can. So that is protected. That's a clarification. And regarding the funding, so I think members of the council should come also from abroad. So it's not only from the local community. That's number one. So there should be a provision of potential access to funding internationally as well. And the second one is that they should facilitate the connection between the universities and other funding sources like investors and venture capitals and startups and companies that can provide contracts and other type of funding. So I believe that that's the way how the supervisory council can drive funding, external funding to universities. That's it.
Thank you, Claudio. So now we have 17 more minutes. It's very important to bring to the table the major stakeholders, and one of them is obviously the private sector and companies that do provide jobs. And according to a study by Deloitte, when choosing a location, for example, for a competence center, access to qualified labor is at the very top of concerns, much higher than political macro environment, infrastructure, appealing tax system incentives. I would like to bring invite Valērija Vārna, the country manager of TietoEVRY, to join the conversation and provide an employer's perspective. TietoEVRY employs more than 1,000 people in Latvia. Valērija, could you share your insight from the employer point of view?
Hello, and thank you very much for inviting me to this very interesting and important discussion. As an employer, we work a lot with the youngsters, and of course, we are very much interested in having well-educated employees. Unfortunately, the last year's experience shows that more and more students are dropping studies in the universities, at least in IT. Because there is a huge gap between the knowledges they are getting during the studies and the actual IT market needs. And now the essence of having the diploma is very much devalued. And definitely it makes the additional pressure on us, on companies. We are forced to invest more and more to educate our employees, especially. Actually, yes, we are partly replacing the universities and high school roles. And in a long-term perspective, it gives really negative results because Latvia's allocation for the potential delivery center is losing the positions from the investment point of view because the costs are rising. And the labor market is very, very limited, as we know. Then, for instance, in IT, the labor market is already overheated here. And for instance, in TietoEVRY, we have 24,000 employees in 90 locations, and we can compare the cost rate. And if we are comparing ourselves with Lithuania, with Czech Republic and Poland, then the cost rate in Latvia is already much higher than in mentioned countries. And of course, there are some mechanisms, for instance, LIA and some other associations are providing the access to European funding to partly cover the cost for labor education. But again, we know that sooner or later, this opportunity will be also closed. And it means that, again, the costs will raise average for some 30-40%. And the industries itself are developing very fast. Unfortunately, we have to admit that our educational programs are many steps behind the actual needs in certain areas. And there is not only about the quality of education, but it's even more about the typicality of the disciplines provided by local high schools. business environment is very agile and with high capabilities to adapt because it's the manner of survival on the local market. And I think definitely our educational system has to use the same approach to develop the programs, because we clearly see that nowadays high school program accreditation periods is way too long. And when the students are getting the diploma in IT, the knowledges they have got are already outdated. Another problem what we are facing on the local market is that we have very focused disciplines in the universities. Again, we as a Scandinavia company, for instance, we are focused mainly on Nordic market, and we are always searching for Scandinavian language speaking professionals. And in the Latvia, we have only few universities who give the opportunity to learn Nordic language, but Scandinavian market is so close to Latvian, and English language from our perspective just is by default. So we have to develop Scandinavian languages as well. And even if we are able to get Scandinavian speaking employee, then IT knowledge is provided by the high school are way too low. And on the opposite side, if the IT knowledges are on a good level, then the language knowledges are not there. And here again, we are investing, we are training our employees, we are running language academies, we are running skills boot camps, and there is a clear lack of cross disciplines in our programs. And I think that in order to raise Latvian competitiveness, attracting the foreign investment, we have to establish the strong dialogue now between the ministry, respective commissions, and the employers to define the actual labor market needs and competencies, the desired skills. We can't predict what type of skills will be needed in next 2, 3, 4 years. And then we have to make the adjustment to our disciplines and to our programs in the universities. And in addition, of course, based on the labor market demand, we have to improve our cross disciplines programs, as I already mentioned. For instance, on the Nordic languages plus light IT or IT plus Nordic languages basis, and this definitely will raise our labor market competitiveness comparing to other countries, because we always have to keep in mind that in Latvia we have very limited labor market, and the only way how to compete is to have well-educated employees. And definitely, if we are talking about the foreign investment attraction activities here, we always have to synchronize and adjust it to our labor market capabilities, because the newcomers in certain areas may face the high cost of setting up the delivery center, the shared services center in Latvia. And definitely we might face the frustration from the investor side. And nowadays investors and companies are very mobile. And so the scenario when investor may leave the market becomes very, very realistic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Valērija. You brought up some very major issues when it comes to where the employers stand. And a good reminder, what you said is it's not only about attracting new investors, it's actually making sure that we have the qualified labor to convince companies to stay here, which are prominent employers and provide good jobs and pay a lot in taxes. My question I would like to ask Mr. Šuplinska, do you foresee that the suggested reforms will address the issue of interdisciplinarity, the higher education's ability to respond to the market needs of today and future? And also, after Mrs. Šuplinska, I would like to hear comments from Claudio and Toms.
Thank you for your question, and I hope, yes, this cross or interrelationship in a different level, and in this developing new programs is very, very important. And one key which we use especially in this time, it is our monitoring system of graduates. And from previous week, we start presented analytic reports about every field of this higher education programs. For example, STEM, in this week, it was humanitarian, and we show how different programs, how different higher education institution in cooperation with this association and other social partners could see this developing of new programs. And I think this data, which we collect from 2017 and start in this period 10 years, help us answer for this question, how this labor market and good program and good or excellent academical personnel work together. And it is one of our key which we use for this developing new programs. So this monitoring system. But thank you, Valērija, about your comments, about your feeling. And we do, I think, in our future, many workshops for this good cooperation with you too. So thank you.
Thank you. Claudio, very briefly, do you think, yeah.
I think about the interdisciplinarity, this is a key word, right, in education moving forward. And crucial here is the reform on the academic side, the tenure path that the minister mentioned. Because in order to guarantee interdisciplinarity, you need full-time scholars that are research-based as well and can interact with other scholars at the same time. And we need full-time students, I'm sorry to say, but we need full-time students. And here the typology of that also Tom's was mentioning is key, that those universities, science university, will have mainly full-time students. The problem that we have with the IT program is some IT programs that are hosted in university should not be probably hosted in universities. They might be hosted in colleges, or maybe only first and second level. So these are the students that only want to get some skills and go to the job market. But again, typology and tenure program will be a good help if they are properly implemented. I want to come back to one thing that also Valērija mentioned and Tom mentioned, I think they are connected, about the accreditation, what Valērija says, and Tom's mentioned about quality assurance. It's too formalistic right now. I mean, when you look at how they accredit program and how they evaluate the accreditation of program, they are looking at how things are written, mainly, not so much to the quality of the process. I am not sure how that could be improved. Of what I know about the reform, probably the institutional accreditation will be a good help to that. But yeah, we need to do something with that, because at this moment, I just gone through our VIRSI accreditation, the direction accreditation, and certainly it's so bureaucratic and so to the what is written and what is not written, and very little to the substance of what we are offering.
Once, any comments from you?
Thanks so much. I agree to everything what previous speakers said, including Minister and Claudio, my friend, with whom we want to twin up and do big things in future. I agree. Yes, it's very formalistic, and probably, well, you have to give more trust into institutions. Accredit universities, allow them to act more freely, because then you can really be elastic in making up interdisciplinary study programs. Now you are quite fixed in the frame and it's difficult to move left and right. Also, you need critical mass of students in one study program. I mean, what a sense it is to have, sorry to say, I don't know, well, Liepāja, Daugavpils, or where, study program with 10 people or 20 people, so it applies to RSU. You need study program with 1,000 people. And there you can match with other program where are other 1,000 students. and also it applies to faculty. When it comes to digital issue, I guess it has to be done in every level, in primary, secondary, in professional, and in the higher education. And Riga Business School with RTU, Riga Technical and Latvian University has done great program for teaching faculty members in United States for digitalization and digital skills. That has to be applied in every study program. What we are doing here at RSU, I ask everybody, where is your digital skills model in your program? And they are starting to think where I get the professors for that. This has to be done with the help of government, and maybe these RRF funds are of good use here, as Reinis wrote. So thank you.
Okay. So we have only a few minutes left. One thing that has become clear, one thing is the need for improved governance. The other one is realization that the education system has been starved for funding. And so it's a chicken and egg. Somebody says we should start with the governance or we should start with the funding. So since we only have a few minutes left, there's also a comment from one of our listeners. Hamid Ladjevardi brought up the question that, and comment that you need to raise the training and income of educators and raise the status in the community. Is there would Ms. Šuplinska or Reinis be able to comment whether increased funding is in sight in terms of the proportion of the budget that will be spent on education and science? So Minister or Reinis, if one of you could take the question.
So if we speak about this proportion in this basic budget of state, it is not enough for financial support, higher education and research. And I think and I hope we do many things for this situation will be better. But maybe only one remark for this accreditation process, which said Claudio. At the moment, we change this accreditation system in general education. And I see this will be better and not formalistical, but it is this realistical situation in this field. And I think we need maybe 2 years for change the situation in higher education too. But this financial support for basic budget, it is one of our question in ministry. So thank you.
And Reinis, you're sitting in the parliament. Can you tell, is the Education Commission committed to increase the funding?
Well, let's say that's a topic that is very, of course, hot at this time and all the time, basically. I must say that there are two parts of it. First of all, the recovery fund financing, which is obviously available only for a couple of years, but which could help to improve the system of higher education. And another important, actually, reform, which was not mentioned that much today, but is also necessary, is the reform of secondary education and the reform of schools. And so if we do both of those reforms well, we'll definitely see that there are some budget available that could be refinanced to increase the wages for teachers, to increase the wages for tutors, and also increase the share that we can use from the state budget, not to spend on the infrastructure, on many schools and many properties, but instead use more of that funding to finance actual teachers and actual personnel. So that's how we can get that funding, and basically changing those proportions. So if you look at especially the countryside of Latvia, you see that in some places, obviously, the secondary school system is not optimal, and there's definitely room for efficiency. So we are really working on that.
Thank you very much, Reinis. And Ms. Šuplinska, in no time, we run out of our time. 1 hour is gone. We had a very lively discussion, and as it was pointed out by Claudio, it's important to listen to everybody, and hopefully eventually we will get on the same page. Thank you for all the speakers today, and thank you all the audience members who joined us today. We intend to continue following the topic, and we'll see you at some other events organized by the Norwegian Chamber of Commerce in Latvia. And thanks to the embassy for the support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Goodbye, and Merry Christmas to all of you.
Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you. For you too, Mr. Ambassador.